Alright, in this video here we're going to talk real quick about the slope of a line. So what the slope of a line is basically a measurement of how steep the line is. You know, a steeper line has a higher slope, a less steep line has a lower slope. Alright, so the formula for calculating the slope of a line, well, first of all, the letter we use to designate the slope of a line is the letter M. Right, so the slope M of a non-vertical line, right, so remember vertical is straight up and down, so a line that's not straight up and down. Alright, the slope M of a non-vertical line through the points A, which has coordinates x1, y1, and B, which has coordinates x2, y2. Right, so basically we're talking about a line going through 2 points on the coordinate plane, and if we know the coordinates of those 2 points, the x and y coordinates of those 2 points, the formula for the slope, M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right? It's a difference in the 2 y coordinates divided by the difference in the 2 x coordinates, right? Which is also referred to as the rise over the run. Right? The rise is how far the y change is going up and down. The run is how far the x change is going left to right. All right, so our slope is the difference in y over the difference in x, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Really important formula for you to know. You have to know how to calculate the slope of a line in algebra, in precalculus, in calculus. It's one of those important things that you need to understand and be able to know that formula. And it's not a super difficult formula to remember. Just the difference in y's over the difference in x. The biggest thing people make, or the big mistake people make with that is just flipping it over and putting the x's on top and the y's on the bottom. Remember, it's the rise over the run. The rise is the y's, and that actually rhymes, so that makes it easier, right? The rise is the y's, the run is the x. All right. So here we have 4 different types of lines and their orientations and what type of slope we have. So if we have a line that rises as we go from left to right, that line is going to have a positive slope. All right, like I mentioned a minute ago, the steeper that line is, the bigger the slope is, and the less steep that line is, the smaller the slope is. All right, but if that line from left to right is going upwards, then it's going to be an increasing slope. If the line from left to right is going downwards, well, then it's a negative slope. Right, so rising is a positive slope, decreasing is a negative slope, and then we're always talking about that going from left to right. All right, and then if we have just a flat horizontal line, right, just going straight across, that is going to be a line that has 0 slope. Right, if you think about it, positive slopes are going upward. So a line like this, like my hand is, would be a positive slope. And like I just said, the steeper that line is, the higher the slope. As that line gets less and less steep, it gets a lower and lower slope until it gets flat, in which case it has a 0 slope. And then when it starts going the other way and tilts downward, then it has a negative slope. Right, so that 0 slope is in between the positive, 0, and then negative. Right, that 0 slope is kind of the in-between point between the positive slope and the negative slope. Right, so a flat line horizontal has a slope of 0. Like, it actually has a slope, and the value of that slope is the number 0. Whereas a vertical line that goes straight up and down has no slope at all, or the slope of a line like that is undefined. Right, so a vertical line does not have a slope; it's an undefined quantity, and the reason for that is, for a horizontal line, all the y coordinates on that point are exactly the same. So when I plug in the numbers for y2 and y1, I end up with a 0 in my numerator, and then whatever the x's are in the denominator, 0 over any number is going to give me a slope of 0. Right, whereas with a vertical line, any points on the vertical line are going to have the same x coordinates. So when I put in the same numbers for x2 and x1, I end up with a 0 in my denominator, and a 0 in the denominator is undefined. That's why that vertical line has an undefined slope. All right, so sometimes people get these confused as far as which one equals 0 and which one is undefined. An easy way to think about it in terms of skiing. Right, when you're thinking of slopes, think about skiing. If you're skiing on just a flat horizontal line, you're having 0 fun, right? That's just a lot of hard work, and it's not really that much fun, right? So a horizontal line is a 0 slope, whereas if you try to ski down something that has a vertical face, like a cliff or something, well, by the time you reach the bottom, you are going to be undefined because it's probably going to kill you, right? So stupid way to remember which one is 0 and which one is undefined, but it's true, and it works, so maybe that'll help you out. All right, so the key thing from this right here is remembering what the slope formula is, and then just the basics, what a positive, negative, 0 slope looks like and what an undefined slope looks like. I'm going to real quick pause the recording and erase some of this and just do an example of calculating the slope of a line that goes through a couple of points. All right, so I put up here an example where we want to find the slope of a line through the points P with coordinates 2, 1 and Q with coordinates 8, 5. All right, so if we're given 2 points and we're given the coordinates of those points, all we have to do is plug those numbers into the slope formula to get the slope of the line that would connect those 2 points. Right? We don't have to draw a picture of it or anything or count the rise and the run to do that. We can just plug the numbers in the formula and get it that way. All right, the key thing is just making sure you put the numbers in the right spot. So what I like to do is I like to label the numbers I have. So for my first point, the coordinates 2, 1, I'm going to label that x1, y1. All right, and my second point with the coordinates 8, 5, I'm going to label that x2, y2. Right, remember when you have an ordered pair like that, the x always comes first, the y always comes second. So I'll label my first point x1, y1, my second point x2, y2, and then if I plug those numbers into the slope formula, right, slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which equals, well, y2 is 8, minus y1, which was 1, over y2, which is 5, minus, whoops, sorry, I totally screwed that up then. Well, not totally, but mostly screwed that up. Right, y2 is 5. For some reason, I put the wrong number up there. Right, so y2 is 5, y1 is 1, so it's 5 minus 1, and then in my denominator, my x2 is 8, minus my x1, which is 2. All right, I did it right that time. And like I just said a minute ago, the easiest way to mess this up is to put the wrong numbers in the wrong place, like I almost did. Luckily, I caught myself before I went too far with it. So the y's, the 5 minus 1 up top, the x's, the 8 minus 2 on bottom, and then we just have to simplify that, right? So 5 minus 1 is equal to 4, 8 minus 2 equals 6, and then that fraction 4, 6 can simplify to 2/3. Right, so the line that goes through the points 2, 1 and 8, 5 is going to have a slope of 2/3. Right, so when you're using the slope formula, again, the key thing is remember what that formula is. Y is on top, x is on the bottom. Plug all the numbers in the right spot, and then whatever fraction you get, simplify that fraction as much as possible when you give your final answer for the slope of the line. All right, so and finding the slope of a line is something that you do just when a problem says find the slope of the line, but also when you have to write the equation of a line, you have to be able to find the slope of the line in order to write the equation. And so this slope formula comes up when you're doing that type of problem as well, which I'll make a video involving problems like that, so you can check those out as well. All right, so that's the slope formula. That's finding the slope of the line. That's pretty much all there is to it. Just like I said, making sure the numbers go in the right place in the formula. One other thing. If you label these differently, like if I label this one x2, y2, and I label this one x1, y1, and I put them in the formula kind of backwards, I would still get the same answer at the end, right? I would have had a 1 minus 5 and then a 2 minus 8, so I would have had negative 4 over negative 6, which still simplifies to a positive 2/3. Right, so which one you labels, the 1s and the 2s, doesn't really matter with the 2 points that you're given. As long as you're consistent when you do it, you're going to get the right answer.